there? Look at verse 4. We'll start at, well, start at verse 1. And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Verse 3, the first commandment is what? You shall have no other gods where? Before me. Right? Verse 4 is you shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. And you shall not bow down to them nor serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. You think about it. It says, God, he's a jealous God. No other gods before me. And then don't make an image. And we know an image is something that's created to be God that people have. Now, look over at Second Corinthians. First Corinthians chapter 11. I'm sorry, I said second, but First Corinthians chapter 11. Second Corinthians chapter 11. You think I could read, know my numbers. Second Corinthians chapter 11. You there? Look at verse 2. Paul writes there to the church at Corinth, for I am jealous for you with what kind of jealousy? A godly jealousy. For I have betrothed you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. But I fear lest somehow, as the serpent deceived Eve by his craftiness, so your minds may be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ. Paul's jealousy here is a positive jealousy. So apparently there's the mean jealousy and a godly jealousy. And you know, as often as I read the word and you look at it, you sometimes don't see that godly part with jealousy. And he put it, as we're going to see several times here, in the terms of a marital relationship. There's a in a marriage relationship, there is a jealousy that's there, and not as the world's going to say. You know, if somebody's hitting on my wife, I have a jealousy there to say, excuse me, she's married, she's mine, right? And it's not, you know, not you won't get in a fight over it. No, but it's like there is a possessiveness that you can't talk to her in a flirtatious manner. That's out of bounds. You can say hello, you can ask how you doing, but if you say, hey baby, no, that's this. No, we all it's on. Why? Because then you're trying to move into an area that you don't belong. So what is jealousy? What is jealousy? Notice, now this is just a simple definition. It says a feeling resentment against someone because of that person's rivalry, success, or advantage. I'm going to say, telegraph it earlier. Jealousy, envy, many times in scripture, the same word is used and translated both ways. And it kind of depends on the context and our understanding. But look at what envy is. It's also a feeling, but it's a feeling of discontent or covetousness with regard to another's advantage, success, possessions. Now, the words are related in our English, but they're not the same, right? One has to do with our inward feelings, and the other has to do with our feelings towards someone else, right? And I'll get it a little later. The Hebrew term there is kana. It means to be jealous or zealous, envy, and one definition put it. I believe it was in the Baker Bible Dictionary. It said the word means really to burn red hot. Because you know some folks when they get mad they turn red. They turn. You know we've seen those especially those caricatures. And it has a strong competitive sense to the word. Turn in your Bibles to now most of if you have a King James, New King James, it may use the word envy, but it's the same word kana. Look at Isaiah chapter 11. Some of these scriptures I'll have, others I want you to turn. You there? Look at verse 13. Isaiah 11:13. The prophet Isaiah writes, also, the envy of Ephraim shall depart. There's a word. The envy of Ephraim shall depart. And the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not harass Ephraim. It's like, ready? There's a competitiveness there. Look, turn to Proverbs 3. Excuse me. Proverbs 3. You there? Look at verse 31. Solomon writes, do not envy who? The oppressor. And choose none of us was. And ready? Don't have that relationship. Don't get those feelings like the oppressor. We won't turn to it, but Psalms 37:1, it says, do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious against the workers of iniquity. Right? It's that competitive. You're burning hot with anger. But the Greek terminology in the New Testament, this is one of those words that the Greek word, it wasn't even translated, it's just transliterated. It's zealous. And the noun is zealous, and it means rendered jealousy, envying, almost the same as in the Hebrew. The verb of it is zelu, is to burn, otherwise to seek a revenge. And turn to James chapter 3. James chapter 3. Are we coming through, love? Yeah. James 3. If you're there, say amen. Look at verse 14. James right there. But if you have bitter what? If you have bitter envy and self-seeking in your hearts, do not boast and lie against the truth. Because look down at verse 16. For where what? Envy and what? Self-seeking exists. What happens? Confusion, discord, and every evil thing is there. Look, it comes in, and it you've got people, quite frankly, competitive. When you look in, look at there's that's the noun part. Look at the verb part. Turn to Acts 7. Here's Stephen in his message to those who were against him. He starts to give Israel's history. Acts 7, you there? It says, look at verse 9. It says, and the patriarchs becoming what? Envious. Your traditional King James says jealous, or NIV? NIV. And the patriarchs becoming envious or jealous sold Joseph into Egypt, but God was with him. Turn to Acts 17. Acts 17. I also have the 1 Corinthians 13:4 in the chapter on love. It says, love suffers long and love doesn't envy. But in Acts 17, you there? Look at verse 5. It says, but the Jews who were not persuaded, becoming envious, took some of the evil men from the marketplace and gathering a mob, set all the city in an uproar and attacked the house of Jason and sought to bring them out to the people. Because those individuals, they were becoming envious. They were jealous of what was going on because, the gospel was being preached, folks getting saved, and people just knew they were going to lose some money as a result of it. This was in Thessalonica. So when we look at it, jealousy is used in three senses in the scripture as intolerance of rivalry or unfaithfulness. That's from God's perspective. You with me? The second one is as a disposition suspicious of rivalry or unfaithfulness, as in a spouse, right? You suspect your wife is cheating, because we're going to look at that in Numbers in a little bit. Or as hostility toward a rival or one's believed to enjoy an advantage. That's how Joseph's brothers looked at him. They were envious. They were jealous of him. And how are they? You know, have we all heard the phrase somebody was green with envy, right? And we know when we get mad, who you red hot, right? So here we go. Ready? How are those two words related? Envy is anger turned inward for something that someone has, like status, possessions, power, or wealth that they don't have but wish they did. Right? I want to be the pastor, and I'm mad at him because, well, if I was pastor, I'd do better. Right? But look at the flip side. While jealousy is resentment of a rival or a person who has been more successful than they and is competing with their own affections for a thing or person. In other words, right, you're jealous because, I'll say this in a church rep, right? You get jealous of a church that has more people than you. So you start competing not to preach the gospel, but I got to get more people in the first church, right? And so it's not really trying to lift up Jesus, but it's like, oh, they have 200. How many do we have? 250? Oh, we beat. Right? Same thing, but you think about it, you think, wait a minute, what's going on? Because people actually get that way. And I'm trying to use this practical. That's why I went back to the prayer point. Ready? You see the new Bentley. Bright red Bentley with some thug-looking man in it. Right? You have one thing you could say. I'm mad because you have it. That's jealousy. You don't deserve that car. You don't. They unsaved. They don't like God. And you're a respectable person in the community. And you driving a jalopy. Right? Envy is to say, ready? I want it. So when they drive it, it's like, I want that car. How can I get that car? And the same thing, but those feelings can be involved. Which is why I want to say both of them are feelings. Feelings are neither right nor wrong. They're just feelings. I know one thing that always bothers me when somebody says, oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Don't tell me how I should feel. I'm feeling it. Right? What becomes a problem is how you act on those feelings. You with me? Let's look at God. We read Exodus 20:15. I am a jealous God. Look at Exodus 34:14 there. It's on the screen. For you shall worship no other God. For the Lord, whose name, notice it says, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Deuteronomy 4:24. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. The problem comes in when we try to apply to God this feeling, this jealousy, in the same way we have. See, God is jealous in the sense that he will not accept merely being added to the life. He insists on being supreme. So when we talk about God, some common things we have. Not that we worship God on Sunday because of volume. that she was a good soccer player, and she was invited to play on the All-Star team in the ASO. And they said okay, and so I went. I took her to the practice, and they said, oh, well, practice is Sunday morning. I said, okay, she won't be there. We go to church on Sunday, and the guy was like, no, you don't miss. And this is that's why I said, no, time out. She ain't doing it then. We go to church. Now, I'm not one that say you can't do anything on Sunday. I said, now, we done by 12:30. Well, we can have it there if you have an afternoon practice, if you have an evening practice. But she's not going to miss on that. Why? Because I serve a jealous God, and that's putting soccer before him. You see, what one commentator said, zealous may be a better translation for jealous with God. He doesn't have that bad meaning. He's got an exclusivity to him. Let's keep going. Look at Deuteronomy 32:21. It says, they provoke me to jealousy to what is not God. They move me to anger by their foolish idols, but I will provoke them to jealousy by those who are not a nation. I will move them to anger by a foolish nation. In other words, God says, ready? I'm going to make you I'm jealous because you left me for some other God. I'm going to make y'all jealous by blessing somebody else. And look what that does. It goes through. You have you look at God, he has a jealousy based on who he is. He's creator. He's intimately connected with each of us. Look at Joshua 24:19. But Joshua said to the people, you cannot serve the Lord, for he is what? A what? A holy God. He is what kind of God? A jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins. See, who has done for you as much as God? And when you look at that, when my kids were young, they may not come home telling me the neighbor had good dinner. They're like, you ate me. I'm so glad Chris and his family, they gave you some ice cream or cupcake. But your dinner, I'm the one that feeds you 7 days a week, 3 meals a day. Right? And you think about it. You think about it in that thing. If you go praising somebody else for doing that, what's that going to make me feel? And in that respect, ready? Jealousy has a feeling. Because you're giving my credit to somebody else. I know, I take it for what you will. Sometimes when folks talk about Santa Claus, they're like, no. I remember one friend of mine, he's like, no, Santa Claus ain't getting no credit for what I did. Not for 40 hours of work, and you're going to give some man who, quite frankly, ain't real, he going to get the credit? I don't think so. Because look at what it says. It says, God is jealous when someone takes something that rightly belongs to him and keeps it for himself or gives it to another. See, we said that earlier about a marital commitment. You are jealous in that relationship because it's exclusive. And when someone tries to interfere, and like, that don't work. Look at, I have it for credit here. Psalm 78. Look what it says. Notice what the psalmist says. For they provoked him to anger with their high places and moved him How? To jealousy with their carved images. When God heard this, he was furious and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent he had placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity and his glory into the east. They provoked him when you built an idol. And I love it. It says, when God heard this, he was furious. So he said, ready, you like this, so let me move back from you. You don't think I'm here? What happens when I leave you alone? Come on, think about it. What happens when God leaves you alone? Y'all mumbling, looking. Come on, what happens when God leaves you alone? What you said, Brother Sheldon? Life gets difficult. What you said, Sister Esther? You don't have his covering. I mean, you think about it. Look what it says in verse 60. So that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh and the tent he had placed among men. In other words, ready, I'm here. But now that you're no longer with me, I step back. I was surprised, when I found out. President, his Secret Service protection for the rest of their life. Guess what? Their wives get it too. No, they get it for the rest of their life. I remember, I like President, and I remember going to Independence, to Harry Truman's house. And the Secret Service, now it's a national, part of the National Park Service. And Mrs. Truman, she was elderly, she was in bed, but she still had 24 hours Secret Service protection. Even though wasn't nobody gonna come in and break in on Bess. Her husband hadn't been president for 30 years. The secrets were all gone. But she still had it because there was a covering that was there. And when you think about it, when God says, listen, you reject me, watch what I will do. Look over at 1 Kings 14:22. It says, now Judah did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they provoked him to jealousy with their sins, which they committed, more than all the fathers had done. Notice, they provoked him to jealousy. And like, have you ever seen somebody just do something just got awful stupid, and you ask this question, ready? What were you thinking? Are you really that crazy? I had saw this person told me about an incident. Because, sometimes you can do stuff and you have a reason for your jealousy. Other times you don't. Person told me that they had gone to jail to go see somebody. And, they were waiting for their loved one or talk. Help came in, and this lady, see her loved one. And this man is behind bars. This lady I'm gathering it was their baby. And he's like, where you been? What you doing? What's in your purse? Let me see inside your purse. And I'm thinking, when I heard this story, I'm like, you have no right to be jealous. Ready? Because you ain't doing nothing. You in jail. You not bringing home no bacon, right? You ain't even provide no frying pan. You right? And all of a sudden now you're having this feeling looking at, well, what's in your purse? Where you been? Where'd you go last night? You in jail. What you did? What you do? Call me at 9 o'clock? Right? That's somebody who's jealous for no reason. Right? But if I'm paying all your bills, right? Come on. I'm paying your bills. You riding in my car. I'm giving you. And if I say, where were you last night? I better get an answer. Why? I'm paying. Oh, guess what? This is, oh, my car, my house, my food. Oh, by the way, my clothes, right? Because you have made, here we go, you've made an investment in that person. And what are you doing? You're protecting that investment. Because look what it says in Nahum 1:2. It says, God is jealous and the Lord avenges. God says, I will pay you back. The Lord avenges, ready? And he's furious. The Lord takes vengeance on his adversaries and he reserves wrath for his enemies. You think about it. Now, you're in a different relationship. When we look at jealousy, yeah, God has a right, because number one, he gives us air every day. But here we go. Especially when you're a believer, you're in a relationship with him. And things shouldn't interfere with that relationship. You with me? Now, this is one parable. We've looked at this several times. And normally we talk about this about, being ready, because you don't know when you're going to die. Look at Luke 12. It's on the screen there. My last bottle for my water challenge, for those who are in. Notice it in verse 16. It says, then he spoke a parable to them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man yielded plenty. And he thought within himself, saying, what since I have, so he said, I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build greater. And there I will store all my crops and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have many goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, fool, this night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will those things be which you have provided? So is he who lays up treasures for himself and is not rich toward God. What's wrong with this man? It's all about him. Who's his God? His stuff, his substance, right? If we looked at the individual, we would say, he got it going on. He's going to pull down his barn and build a bigger one. He's going to store his crops. And he's going to say to his soul, soul, you have got your retirement hooked up. What's the problem? Oh, he ain't going to get to retire. See, who's his God? His stuff. He's gotten things out of whack. And all of a sudden now God says, right? What does he call him? He calls him a fool. because your barns are there, the goods are there. He probably got the plans to make to build the barn, the bigger barn. Somebody, because he got people to work to feed. Only problem is he doesn't have control. So, and when you look at in terms of jealousy, this is one area that you've got to say, that is my exclusive. You can't say to your soul, take ease, you got it. James said, what is your life that is evil? Why? Because you don't control that. Let's look at the Russian law, the destructive nature of jealousy. Number one, ready? It's within the heart. Proverbs 14:30. A sound heart is life to the body, but envy is what? Rottenness to the bone. The one thing about jealousy, it didn't let you see straight. I have heard of individuals when the phone rings and there's a hang up. You are jealous to the point it's about to make you sick because now your mind is starting to play tricks. Notice James 3:16. For where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing. How many people say you are a jealous person? Oh, I got one hand and then I got all depends. All depends. Depends on what? Or who's threatening what's yours, okay? What you say some shit? Okay. What happens with jealousy? Let's just say, let's take it out of, say, jealous from your children or your spouse. What's your response? How you respond? How you respond? I wish that was me. Oh, congrats. See, that's a good church. Congratulate, don't hate. How'd you get them? I mean, legitimate question. How'd you get them? Yeah, you may have somebody else with the holy hookup. But here we go. Ready? Look at Galatians 5:20. Notice how Paul puts it in the works of the flesh. Idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, self-ambition, dissensions, heresies. See, all of that is destructive. I think of people who have been in a jealous rage, kill somebody and then realize what they did and turn the gun on themselves. I mean, you think about it's see, when jealousy gets in your heart, I remember having a class back in seminary, a marital counseling class thing, and I remember it was said that in a marriage, there are four areas that's liable to break down: division of labor, money, uh, uh, communication, and sex. No, not not communication. It's the children and the sex. And I sometimes I've looked at people. One person asked, "Who gets to eat first in your house? Your husband or your children?" I know we eat together, but if you're fixing a plate, right? Who gets the first plate? Okay. My household is the father, right? Many households, it's the child. Here we go. Stay with me. Stay with me. And what does that create? And you're competing over and think about it. Like, it's a work. When you realize how many divorces come in because no, it's not just because I fed you first, but it's because you quit being married and you start being a mother. So brother man or even the woman or the wife are kicked to the back. And it creates fight. And ready? It starts in the heart. And that you can't see. Because notice when it starts there, look how it says it's within the heart. But then it goes to others. Genesis 37:11. With Joseph, and his brothers envied him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Joseph's telling about his dream. His brothers, one translation said, his brothers hated him. See, we see jealousy negatively played out with Joseph and his brothers. I mean, yeah, he was dad's favorite, and there was no doubt about it. But then it became destructive. It became one of these works of the flesh. It was contentions and outbursts of wrath. You think about it. You're coming in and you can't even stand your own way. Why? Because when it gets in your heart, look at now it's Numbers 5, 11 to 30, and we don't have time. It's not really part of our section, but notice what it says. This is about a husband and wife, and I've got to preface this by saying, see, nowadays husbands and wives are on the same level. Back then, a wife was not; she was property, quite frankly, and she didn't have any right. Look at verse 14. Notice what Moses writes. He says, if the spirit of jealousy comes upon him and he becomes jealous of his wife who has defiled herself, or if the spirit of jealousy comes upon him and he becomes jealous of his wife, although she has not defiled herself, then the man shall bring his wife to the priest. He shall bring the offering required of her, 1/10 of an ephah of barley meal. He shall pour no oil on it and put no frankincense in it, because it is a great offering of jealousy, an offering for remembering and bringing iniquity to remember. You think about it. If I think my wife's cheating, and if you ask her, she's gonna say, "I've been faithful to you." But if You're not supposed to put any oil or frankincense. You're not supposed to make it smell sweet because this ain't a this is not, oh, I'm happy to bring this offering. If you suspect, why? Because this husband, he had to protect the family line. Like I said, wives were not, equal. You were property. Quite frankly, the best thing you could do was produce an heir, and once you did that, your job was really done. And the you think about it, you got a heart attitude to the point, but you suspect, and you're ready to bring her before. Quite frankly, the priest is like bringing her before court. I don't know, years ago, especially during the summertime when I was getting home, there was a show, I think it's still on TV, but it's not as good now. It's called Divorce Court. And I would sit there and watch Divorce Court because divorce was either on the grounds of adultery and mental cruelty. And they would have, the witness come in, and you come in, and when you start suspecting, you start seeing things. Why? Because it creates something in your heart that you say, ready? But look, it doesn't even stop there. Look at it. Now, we can see it in the marital, in the family, in the outside. But what happens when it comes in the church? Let's think about what happens. Come on. What happens when jealousy gets into Santa Clarita Christian Fellowship? I'm not going to put First Church. Santa Clarita Christian Fellowship. What happens when it comes here? Why can it tear up the church? This discord? How's it going to tear it up? All right, we're fighting, right? Think about it. Notice what it says, 1 Corinthians 3:3, right? Paul says, in essence, for you are carnal. For where there are envy, strife, and divisions among you, are you not carnal, behaving what? Like mere men. If I say, well, I'm part of the Hopper group. I'm part of the Winston group. I'm part of the Gatewood group. I'm part of the Richardson group. Richardson is not going to call a Hopper. Does it go on? You start passing it down. Come on, think about it. You start getting competitive, because this is what it was. People said, I'm of Paul, I'm of Apollos, I'm of Cephas. Somebody, well, I'm of Jesus. Hey, he really, that is. Jesus is the ace call. Y'all human. I'm of the Jesus group. Beat that. Right? Look at Philippians 1:15. Some indeed preach Christ, even from envy and strife, and some also from what? How are some preaching Christ? What did it say in verse 15? Envy and strife. Wait a minute. How did you do that? Think about it. I get it. You know how I develop it. Next Wednesday. No, I don't know how to do it. goes on to say in Philippians, doesn't make any difference. The main thing is that Christ is preached. Whether you're doing it with your motive may be bad, which is one thing that always fascinates me. My motive may be bad, but God still gets the glory. I don't get the reward for it. Ready? But God still gets the glory. Somebody's still gonna get saved, even though I'm doing bad. Because look what he says in Galatians 5:26. He says, "Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another." Ready? Know your place that you don't have to be worried about. Because when you look at it, see, it could be this. If we let jealousy get in here, and I can't talk to Sister Lisa. He thinks she's better than me. So when she come into church, I'm doing my sin. I'm having people are praying somebody fail. He can't preach no how. I don't know why he's getting up there. He may not, but guess what? If God called you, it may not be for you, but you have to work. But look at the last one. Because the last one I got 3 minutes to do. The strength of jealousy. Notice, because this was the other scripture that caused problems. If you look at Song of Solomon, if you see in some Bibles, it's just all text, and it drives you crazy. The Song of Solomon, the beloved is speaking some places. The Shulamite, which is the bride, is speaking. Her brothers speak one place. The women with the woman speak some places. And you have to know who's speaking. And this is, I perfectly put the Shulamite, who is the woman, is speaking to Solomon. Notice she says in verse 6, Solomon 8:6, "Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is as strong as death, jealousy as cruel as the grave. Its flames are flames of fire, a most vehement flame. Many waters cannot quench love, nor can the floods drown it. If a man would give for all the wealth of his house, it would be utterly destroyed." The New International Version says, "Place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm. For love is as strong as death, its jealousy unyielding as the grave. It burns like blazing fire, like a mighty flame. Many waters cannot quench love. Rivers cannot sweep it away. If one were to give all the wealth of one's house for love, it would be utterly scorned." Now, if we substituted the word zealous for jealousy, we can see a relationship better. When the woman here, notice how she says, "Set me as a seal on your heart." You know what that is? Back then, the seal, like the king's seal, it was a sign of ownership. It was the stamp. You didn't break the seal, right? When kind of apropos, if you look to Revelation 6, when it talks about those seal judgments, they broke the seal and something opened up. It's that she said, "Set me as a seal on your heart." And she says, and here's the kicker, for love is what? As strong as death. And then she says, jealousy is as what? Cruel as the grave. Relationally, ready? Jealousy knows no moderation. It's just out there. It's domineering, exacting, exhaustive, unaccepting of excuses. Right? But notice it says its flames are what? A flames of fire most vehemently. And verse 7 says, ready? Many waters cannot quench love, nor can the floods drown it. If a man would give for all the love of the wealth of this house, it would be utterly despise. See, here, the woman talks about you're having such a strong commitment. Notice the connection. The seal on the heart and love, he equates love with the exacting power of death. Once it's in there ready, this woman is like, don't, I hope it never leaves. And notice he says, and jealousy is, it's not just cruel. Is just that strong. And here, Solomon equates the power of love to connect you in the marital relationship as being as strong as death and as permanent as the grave. You know, when we marry somebody, I marry, when I say for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, until death. Yeah, now I know people don't make it that long. But ready? Many do. See, and the meaning is that love and jealousy have irresistible power over those they bring under restraint. And Solomon uses it in a positive manner. And, you know, because really think about it. Sometimes, have you looked at a couple and you wondered, why are these two together? Right? You don't, I mean, I've looked at folks and it's like, it's not even so different. I know somebody who, if I was married to this individual, we would have long been separated. Brother man can't keep a job. You end up on the streets. You ain't got no food, you know, and y'all stay together. Well, I love him. He useless, but I love him. And you realize something. Ready? That somebody ready? Despite what happened. It creates a bonding connection. So when you think of jealousy, I'm going to leave with this. Don't think of it always in the negative terms because it's really extremely positive. I want folks to be jealous. I want folks to be jealous over this church. If you're jealous over it, you ain't going to talk it down. Right? I'm not going to talk. I'm jealous over my children. I'm going to protect them. I don't want them, you know. I told folks, no, my mother said something, called my daughter, I mean, it wasn't bad term, but she called, I said, no, her name, you know, this is what I said, her name is Chelsea. That little thing, no, she's not that little thing. It's Chelsea. And I think you said such a way as like, you know what? No, because I'm zealous to protect. And when we think of jealousy, is God calls us because that's how his relationship is with us. It's like, listen, I'm in this with you for the long haul. And I don't want anything to separate that relationship. Amen? And I'm going to stop there. Any questions? Yes, sir. Saul had a jealousy that was bound up in envy. You remember when the women, when women saying that song. Saul is saying there's thousands, but David is 10,000. Saul was just mad because somebody was getting more credit than him. Which is probably one of the easiest things to get jealous over. When somebody compliments you and you say, "Well, I was just as good. Why don't I get?" Anyway, let's receive our offering for this week. Thank you. And hope I don't have to. Oh yeah, everybody. Oh yeah. Any as we go. Any uh, prayer requests, praise reports for this week, Sister Stephanie. Any yes, Sister Judy. Any others? And we will do that. We will just remember that. Let's all stand, grab a hand that's not your own. Thank you for coming out tonight.